Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited to go through all of my thoughts, opinions, massive emotions whilst watching Water 7 Saga of One Piece. I did recently post the first initial part of my thoughts on East Blue, Alabasta and Skypiea, so make sure to go check that one out if you haven't seen that one yet. A massive thank you to everyone who commented on that last video and shared all of your thoughts and opinions on the series. I really enjoyed going through and reading about all of your favorite scenes and characters. Let's get straight into it. We start the Water 7 Saga off with the Foxy Pirates arc. This is very much a fun-filled arc with the Foxy Pirates and the Straw Hat crew battling it out to win the Davy Back games. The way that it's organised is that there are a series of games, I can't remember how many there are, but throughout these games, whichever crew wins, so there's like a few members of each crew that battle it out together, and whichever side wins, they get to steal a crew member from the other crew. I found this arc overall absolutely hilarious. It had some really great moments, especially with the introduction of Foxy and his slow beam, which is like he shoots out this beam. Whoever's caught in that radius of the beam, they slow down to basically a halt for 30 seconds. Also, his weakness being receiving criticism. Oh my God, every time he receives criticism and then Hamburg and Portia just like surround him, trying to comfort him. Oh God. One of my favorite scenes through this arc would have to be when Sanji and Zoro enter one of the games together and they start just fighting and bickering about who's going to become the ballman. I think that this is where like their rivalry starts to form, and then ever since this moment, the interactions between Zoro and Sanji just get more and more funny, and the way that they just like make jabs at each other constantly. It's basically like they're brothers. That's the kind of vibe that I get from their relationship, is that they've just like, one's, you know, an older brother, maybe Zoro's an older brother, Sanji like the younger brother, and they're just like bickering it out like brothers do. I love when Nami butts in. That's a good scene. Last Kingdom. And they just start freaking fighting. Oh, it's so good. And then later on, Zoro gets his swords taken off of him. His katana's taken off of him. And then they end up just like fighting again. So funny. Another part I really liked is when Robin entered one of the games and she basically just sits back and reads all of the Davy Back rules, which is like this massive book on all of the rules, because the Foxy Pirates, they find little loopholes within each rule so that they can win the games. She's able to memorize all of the rules and tell the Straw Hat crew how to navigate through the game. It was awesome seeing how intelligent Robin is. Also, when Robin was taken by the Foxy Pirates and she was kind of like discussing with, I forgot who it was, Nami was there and Zoro, because Zoro was like, knew we shouldn't have trusted her. She like had a chat to them, and then as she's walking off, she basically is just like, bye, and then goes and joins the crew like it was absolutely nothing. Chopper was crying and so upset, but she just was just like, all right, I'm going to join the Foxy Pirates then. I think though at that time she probably had an inkling, because she's so intelligent and intuitive, she probably knew that they would end up getting her back. I really got to see more of Robin's personality in the Foxy Pirates. She's like started to open up a little bit more, and you kind of see a little bit of her small jabs and small little sarcastic comments that it just goes more and more throughout One Piece. Although this whole arc was basically just a comedy for me. I think it was really, really important to lay the foundations of their upcoming battles. Throughout the whole of this arc, they learnt about each other's strengths and weaknesses and grew their ability to strategize together and find out how to successfully work together to win battles. And I think that kind of laid the foundation for how they all worked in the upcoming battles. Then we head to the Ocean's Dream arc, which is also just like another filler arc. This one is basically there's a kid that has this seahorse instrument. He ends up coming around the Going Merry and using this song. The Straw Hat crew all wake up and they've lost their memory. And then the arc is just trying to figure out where they are and who they are. Yeah, it was just a bit of a filler arc. So there's really not much I can really say. Like, I didn't really have my favorite moments in that one. At the end, we kind of get more back into the main storyline of the Water 7 saga, where we're introduced to Kuzan. Robin is like absolutely terrified when she sees him and something kind of triggers in her. So Kuzan ends up freezing her and Luffy, and then they're brought back to the Going Merry, and Chopper slowly de-thaws them, and then they're okay. But after this, Robin is not herself anymore. It's kind of like something's clicked, that something is about to happen, and that she might have to leave the Straw Hat crew. Oh, look who has come to join. Say hi. Oh, his hair is going everywhere. Everywhere. Aren't you? You're first going everywhere. After the Ocean's Dream arc, we make our way to Water 7. On their way to Water 7, they pass a train where the tracks just sit over the water, and that's like the indication that they're nearly at Water 7. This is where they meet Kokoro and her granddaughter. She's got like the green hair, and later on, oh man, that was a funny scene. Later on, we find out that she was a mermaid, or is a mermaid. Sanji's idea of mermaids just go out the door. The world of Water 7 mimics the historical town of Venice in Italy, where they have all of those water canals that run throughout the city, and they get around on gondolas, which are like those small boats. This once again is like a completely new land, a completely new adventure, and it's really cool how Oda has drawn aspiration from these different places in the world. At the start of the arc, the crew end up losing all the gold because it gets stolen from them. So then obviously Nami is just like in all sorts, so she ends up going on the hunt for the money. She won't let the Straw Hat crew leave without the money. That's more like it. In Water 7, we get introduced to all of the CP9 members. At the start, their identities aren't revealed. They are basically introduced as shipwrights that are working on building and fixing ships in Water 7, and they're really renowned shipwrights as well. Only later do we find out that they are the members of the CP9. Pretty soon into the arc, they end up finding the shipwrights and asking for them to go and fix the Going Merry. And then after that, Kaku goes and inspects the Going Merry, goes through all of like the underdecking, and comes back with some pretty bad news that the Going Merry is on its last leg. Basically, they need to let her go and get a new ship because it's just gonna fall apart. Luffy ends up going back to Usopp. Obviously, Usopp has a very strong bond with the Going Merry. He is very emotionally connected to the Going Merry. And then when Luffy comes back and tells him that they're gonna have to let her go and that they're gonna have to get a new ship, and then Usopp just is not having any of it. He is straight up refusing to let the Going Merry go. At that point, that's when he asked to duel Luffy. This whole duel and scene and feud between Luffy and Usopp, it really cut me deep, and it made me realize just how like emotionally invested I have become into the characters. I've seen them grow into where they are at this point. So seeing Luffy and Usopp be in this fight was just like really heartbreaking. Usopp has become, he was more of the weaker character of the crew, and I think that he probably felt really frustrated that he couldn't pull his weight. Him winning against Luffy would be just a way to prove himself to the crew as well. That's just the way that I saw it. Then when Luffy walks away after winning the battle, he puts his straw hat back on his head. He looks at Nami, and I think it was Nami and Zoro, and he just says, "That was really hard." At that point, I cried. Of course I cried. When am I not crying in this bloody show? He was expressing how difficult it was to duel Usopp and to win against him, because it meant that he was going to have to kick Usopp out. And then when Zoro replied saying that he did the right thing, it was like he's a captain, so he has to do these things, and this is one of those moments that he just had to do in order to be a captain. Afterwards, when Usopp was just depressed that he couldn't win, he's basically kicked himself out of the Straw Hat crew, so he was really, really upset. It was a really sad scene. In 107, we also meet Franky and Franky's crew. All of Franky's crew have this immense love for Franky, and they're all like very boisterous and very over the top with what they do and what they say. You end up growing really fond of all of them. At the start, they're made out to look like criminals, but then by the end, it's like, you love them. As Water 7 progresses a little bit more into the story, we start to kind of figure out a bit more about the CP9 members. That conversation between Robin and Iceberg, they kind of made it out like Robin was the one that was the bad guy in all that, or she had joined CP9 and now she was in with this evil organization. Basically, Iceberg was asking her why she's doing this, talking about the Pluton weapon. Robin explained that there was no way that the crew members were going to be let out alive of Water 7 if she didn't go with the CP9 members. She made the decision to join them so that she could support the Straw Hat crew. And the moment when Nami found this out and then was like, we have to save Robin, because they thought that Robin had gone bad, so they didn't know whether to trust her anymore. But then Nami found out that she did it all for them. That was another one of my that was another one of my favorite moments, because it was like, yeah, I knew Robin wasn't like that. I figured from the start when they kind of made it out like she was becoming bad, I was like, I don't think so. I don't think there's any way that Robin could be bad. She's got a really good heart, so there had to be some reason why she was doing this. Getting towards the end of Water 7, when there is the massive impending Aqua Laguna on the rise, and it is a massive wave that gets swept over Water 7 and causes immense damage to all of the bottom levels of Water 7. Out of all the natural disasters, I don't know why, but getting caught in a tsunami just terrifies me. So this was pretty scary and daunting, seeing all of the massive wave go over Water 7 and just making immense destruction. Once the water starts rising in Aqua Laguna, that's when everything basically starts going down. The train with CP9 and Robin, it heads off, and then Nami's trying to find out a way that they can follow them and get to Eni's lobby to try and save Robin. I was not expecting that is how Usopp was going to become Soggy King. I knew in the past that he would somehow gain this title, but I genuinely thought that he would gain it through doing some heroic act in one of the arcs. But nope, he just was way too embarrassed to try and save Robin as Usopp. Having the duel with Luffy, he was just too ashamed, so he had to become a different person and a different identity. And his theme song, which is a pretty good theme song. There are a few great moments throughout the train scenes as well, like when Franky and Usopp go to try and save Robin, and Robin is really surprised to see them all, because she thought that she was successful in just letting go of them and not making them come after her. So she was shocked to see that Usopp was there. And then, Franky trying to beat, I think it was Blueno, but obviously Blueno is too strong for Franky. When we reach Eni's lobby, it is just jam-packed action until the crew get to find where Robin is and get to see Robin. One of the awesome, I think very iconic moments is when Usopp burns down the world government flag, basically declaring war on the world government just to save Robin. For me though, the best part of this arc, and probably all of Water 7, Eni's lobby and CP9, would be when Robin yells out that she just wants to die, And then we hear about her really sad past, where she grew up on this island very much alone. Her mum had left her. Her dad is nowhere to be seen. And she basically grew up with this team of archaeologists, which is where she gained a lot of her knowledge and her love for archaeology. But she was still, very alone. She's a child. She doesn't have parents. She only has this team of archaeologists. And then she finds Saul, because Saul ends up getting washed up on the island, and then they form this really wholesome bond together. And it was just really sweet seeing Robin, little Robin, laughing chee 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 chee. That's so cute. But then the world government found out that these archaeologists were illegally investigating the poneglyphs, so they ended up calling the Buster Call on them, which just disintegrated the whole island. The moment where Saul is trying to save Robin. Well, Robin ends up meeting her mum at some point. Saul grabs Robin and he ends up saving her. But it was really, really, really freaking sad to see that whole scene. And then Saul getting frozen over and died after Kuzan got to him was super emotional to see. This friend that she had made and found solace in is now gone. After she's saved and gets out there, again and again and again, she is treated unjustly for no real reason at all, because of the government, because they're trying to, capture her, and they've put all these bounties on her. They have ruined her life. And this is probably why it is so emotional and anger inducing to see her get treated this way. There was absolutely no reason for her to be treated this way, because of all of the hardships and all of the unjust moments that she has been throughout her life. She just skips from group to group to group and doesn't trust anyone and gets around by herself. Basically, her sole purpose is trying to find these poneglyphs. So she doesn't trust anyone. She hasn't formed any friendship with anyone. Although I think that she always keeps what Saul told her in the back of her mind, that the seas are a vast space. One day she will find friends. She will find her group of people. I think she found that in the Straw Hat crew. Because she found that, she doesn't want the Straw Hat crew to get hurt, so she just kind of went through the same pattern of trying to let them go. But Luffy and the Straw Hat crew have rebuilt her trust in humanity and in herself, so this has given her will to live. When she then yells out that she wants to live to Luffy and to the Straw Hat crew, it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it now. It's just such a build-up of emotions, seeing her sad backstory that she is now able to trust again and let herself go. Actually very similar to the Luffy and Nami scene, where we see that their trust builds in their relationship. Luffy just won't give up. He won't give up on his friends and his crew. After she confesses to them that she now wants to live, this is when they all kick into gear and everything starts happening. It's where Usopp shoots the world's government flag. Like I was saying, it's one of my favorite parts. And I think it is because up until this point, we see what's been happening with Usopp. Just the fact that he's the one to shoot the flag is just really symbolic. Just a side note though, with all of the emotional scenes in between, they just shove in Franky saving Robin with his Cooper fart. That was absolutely hilarious. And it was really unexpected, that moment. Then we enter the CP9 arc, which is when all of the Straw Hat crew battle against the CP9 members. It starts off with Fukuro telling them that each of the CP9 members has a key, and one of those keys opens Robin's handcuffs. That would then ultimately save her, because she's then able to use her devil fruit power and help them escape. Now, the order of the battles are probably going to be not fully correct, but they're how I remember them, the order that I remember them in. So if I'm wrong in saying that this battle was before this one, then please excuse me. Anyway, the first battle was with Nami and Khalifa. Well, this one first started off with Sanji and Khalifa, but we all know that Sanji can't fight women, so he got his ass kicked, and then Nami came and stepped in and started fighting Khalifa. Although Nami started off definitely at a disadvantage when Khalifa used the bubble devil fruit to turn her into a smooth I don't know what you like, a doll, a smooth doll. So she like couldn't get up properly or move properly. In the end, she absolutely dominated Khalifa, and it's one of the most satisfying moments, I think, of CP9. This is the moment that I realized how strong Nami had actually become. Nami had grown so much throughout all of the previous battles. She like consistently gained strength and knowledge. This whole battle in particular really showcased how much she had grown. The next battle that we see is with Zoro and Usopp up against Kaku and Jabra. Jabra's the one that has the dog fruit, and then Kaku hilariously has the horse fruit is what it is, but he turns into a giraffe. The interactions between Zoro and Usopp, well, aka Soggy King, throughout this whole battle is hilarious. When like Zoro would come up with these grand ideas that weren't that great, and then Usopp would just be like, that's a really awful idea. But then he ends up going through with some of the ideas, like becoming Zoro's sword for like most of the battle. As I said, Kaku becoming a giraffe and like all of his giraffe moves where his like head is just spinning really fast. Of course, he was no match for Zoro. Zoro belts his ass. It was really cool seeing Usopp, how much he had grown. He's able to assess the situation and then come up with all of these really great ideas on how to successfully win, which is really great to see him like grow in that aspect. The next fight is with Chopper and Kumadori, whose laugh I just cannot stand. It is the most annoying, ear-piercing laugh, so it was satisfying when Chopper was able to like get him down. This is a fight where we see Chopper absolutely push past his limits. I guess he gets really down on himself because he feels as though he's not contributing enough during these battles strength-wise. When he is losing the battle against Kumadori and he's really beaten down, and then he takes that final rumble ball where it's life or death, he transforms into something that he could not possibly come back from, but he chooses to take that rumble ball so that he can at least try and save Robin's life and try and contribute to the Straw Hat crew in saving Robin, and he doesn't want to let the others down. Then there's the fight with Franky and Fukuro, which I can't stand Fukuro as well. So it was really satisfying when Franky knocked him down too. Franky he was pulverized again and again and again throughout the battle, but he came out on the other end and he won. It's where we got to like see Franky in action. I think it's like his first big battle before he enters the Straw Hat crew. Next is the fight between Sanji and Jabra. After getting his ass kicked by Khalifa and like turning into a doll thing, he ends up coming back to life with water, and throughout this whole battle with Jabra, he manages to see through all of Jabra's tricks. The parallels that I drew with Jabra is Red Riding Hood, where the wolf is deceptive and manipulative and plays all these tricks to try and get his way. And that's what he did with Sanji, but in the end, Sanji kind of saw through all of that. This is another moment where we get to see so much growth in one of the characters, because Sanji, when he uses his Diable Jambe, and it's like shows how powerful he's become, and he's able to wipe out Jabra pretty easily. In the end, Kaku had the 5th key. They had to get all of the keys to Franky, who was on the bridge with Robin, and he had to try and figure out which key it was because they didn't know at the time which key it was. This is a really awesome moment. It's actually probably another one of my favorite moments with Usopp, where he shoots the keys over to Franky, who's on the bridge. After Franky ends up freeing Robin, and then Robin's able to use her Hana devil fruit with all her hands, they manage to get away. And then the next massive fight is with Rob Lucci and Luffy. They had like their little battle earlier on in the saga, and that was actually a really funny scene leading up until that point, where Luffy transitions into Gear 3 and then he becomes tiny. Well, later on you find out that he's just like this, he becomes really tiny. This was a super tough battle for Luffy. He was, once again, like all of them have really pushed past their limits. For Luffy, he was defeated. Like there was a point where you thought he wasn't gonna win. Another one of my favorite moments with Usopp, I'm just beginning to like realize how much I really liked Usopp in this saga. But the other favorite moment would have to be when Usopp yells out to Luffy, that he has to keep going, he has to win this battle. And he's shouting at him to get up so that he can win. This arc, it really cemented his intelligence and his place in the crew. And all of these things are why he was introduced to the crew and why he was invited to join them. That's why it's like a really good scene, because they squash all the conflicts that they had previously and just focused on winning so that they can save Robin. Then after Luffy ends up defeating Rob Lucci, even though it like took absolutely everything out of him, he did end up defeating Lucci, and the Going Merry just came out of nowhere after one of the CP9 members kicked the Going Merry out into Aqua Laguna, and you think that the ship is just gone. But no, she ends up coming back and rescuing all of the Straw Hat crew. I have to mention this as one of my favorite parts when Robin got her revenge on Spandam. I absolutely despise Spandam throughout the whole time when he was kicking Robin down, seriously injuring her, just being an absolute asshole. So when Robin got her revenge and broke her back, it was such a satisfying moment. At the end of the arc is where the Straw Hat crew end up saying their goodbyes and part ways with the Going Merry, because obviously the Going Merry is on its last leg and she wasn't going to make it any further, so they have to say goodbye to her at this point. Boy, was that an emotional scene, going through all of the past memories, the good times and the bad times that they've shared with the Going Merry. It was a really, really special scene. It was really sad to see the Going Merry go. This whole thing, it was kind of like an end of an era and the start of a new one. Throughout the whole saga, at each point you see how much they've grown and how much they've become a full team and a full crew. They've become a family. They now rely so much on each other, and you start to see how much they have the utmost respect for Luffy, and they respect him as a captain. Even though he's a complete idiot, they still respect him and they will follow him to the ends of the earth. And showing all of these scenes from the past was just like a really nice way to end it off. Another one of my favorite parts that I just have to mention is the scene where Franky says his final goodbyes to his crew so that he can set sail with the Straw Hats. They all have so much admiration for Franky and know that this is like the best path for him. So it was such a bittersweet way to end the saga and to see Franky off. The whole saga itself was just amazing, and it had like some really joyful, funny moments, but also some like really, really emotional moments, and definitely the most emotional moments so far for me in the series. That brings us to the end. That is all of my thoughts on Water 7 Saga. As I said, it was just like, it was a massive saga, and there was so much to it, so much depth. The animation improved like tenfold as well, so it's really where I began to feel very connected to One Piece and become more emotionally invested in One Piece and the whole Straw Hat crew. There was a lot to that saga. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. And if you enjoy trading cards and seeing statues and listening to me talk about One Piece, then please make sure to subscribe. Otherwise, I hope that you all have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!